Hello again, interwebs. This is Bobby with Madness Labs. And basically last video we went through linking, understand how linking works, absolute versus relative URLs, things like that. And then talked about and dangled the carrot on the string in front of you guys about using Bootstrap to kind of take a lot of the repetitive work out of building web applications. So maybe you don't have a full concept for what that is. Maybe you've gone and looked into Bootstrap. Maybe. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do is, first off, let's just jump into the browser, and here's what we have so far. Very, very plain, very simple. And as you might have guessed, it's gonna take us quite a bit of time to get from this to an actual full application. If we have to write all of our styles from scratch, we have to make all of our classes and do all these different things, it's going to take us quite a while. So it would be really helpful if we had a set of Lego blocks that we could use to kind of click together things, and then we could just kind of put a layer of paint on them to make them look like we want them to. So that's what frameworks allow us to do. So we're going to be demoing one in this video called Bootstrap. So if you Google up Bootstrap or type in getbootstrap.com, we can open up their homepage, and as it says, it's the most popular HTML, CSS, and JavaScript framework for developing responsive mobile-first projects on the web. Blah, 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 makes your life awesome. Okay, so click on the download button, and it's going to take us to their download page. So we have two ways we can do it. I'm going to show you the easiest way for a beginner to get started, but note, you're going to want to download these things and actually put them inside of your project and link them up that way. However, I'm just going to link to these files online. Bootstrap is made by Twitter, so chances of their CDN going down, and they're hosted by Max CDN, which is a huge CDN. Chances of them going down, pretty slim. But again, minimizing the risk of these files going down and not being there, you want to put them inside of your project so that you have a little bit more control over them. But I'm just going to copy this code that they give us, and then I'll pop back into our project and go to my index page, and then above my style sheet, and this is important, above my style sheet. So why does it have to be above your style sheet? Well, because you want your styles, because remember the cascading nature and things that are lower down, applying and overriding other rules, you want your rules to be the final rules. So if I want to overwrite some of Bootstrap styles, my styles need to be declared after Bootstrap styles. So I'm going to go ahead and paste now. And then what we're going to notice first off the bat, or what you should notice, is that these aren't tabbed correctly. So we need to tab those guys out because we want to keep our code pretty, and it'll also save us from having some merge conflicts and things in the future if our stuff is all properly tabbed out. And then we can actually just remove these comments. I mean, you can keep them if you like them, but I don't. Okay, so now I've removed all those. So we've got three things, and let's dissect them a little bit. So we've got two style sheets. So one style sheet is just for the basic Bootstrap styles. So like really, really minimalistic, buttons and things like that. And then we have the Bootstrap theme, which is actually a set of themes that we can actually, or classes that are themed that we can apply to our application, which is really going to help us get up and running very quickly. And then the last one is a different tag that we haven't seen so far in this series, which is a script tag. And so a script tag is JavaScript. And JavaScript, if you remember from the first video, is how we control functionality on the page. So somebody clicks a button and something happens, or somebody touches something, or somebody uploads a file or whatever. Anytime that there's some kind of interaction with your application, JavaScript is afoot. So that's the Bootstrap CSS or JavaScript file. So Bootstrap relies on another JavaScript file that they didn't give us inside of this awesome block of code for some reason. So we need to actually include jQuery in our page so that we can have all the access to all the awesomeness that Bootstrap has to offer. So it's not really imperative that you understand JavaScript right now. We will be getting into that in the coming weeks, but it is imperative to understand how to link these external things in and get them running on your application, and then start to get in the practice of like understanding and debugging this kind of process. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, and then I'm going to jump into my browser, and I'm going to go to jQuery.com. So jQuery is made by a wonderful, wonderful person, or was made by a wonderful, wonderful person named John Resig, who basically created a very simplified way of dealing with JavaScript, and it's used by a butt ton of websites on the internet. And though it's kind of a little old hat nowadays, just because the browsers and the standards have kind of caught up and made it a little easier, it's still incredibly useful. So we're going to go ahead and click download jQuery. And then again, we could actually download this and then install it on our project and then include it inside of our head. But we're actually going to just do it the simple way. If we right click on this first link here, we can then copy the link address. And if you paste it inside of here, we can write a script tag, and then every script needs a source. We're going to link to an external file, and then I can paste the link that I copied, and you'll notice it's a JavaScript file. It's .js, so we're just including jQuery, the one that's hosted on their website. We're just going to include that off of their website into ours. And I've actually made a goof here. We need to actually move the script tag above Bootstrap, so that because remember that Bootstrap requires jQuery in order to do its thing. So if we include jQuery after Bootstrap, then it won't be available. So there we go. Now I have all of Bootstrap included, and let's head back to our page and just check out the difference. So right off the bat, you're going to notice a couple things. So one, we have this little spacing that was taken out around the entire body of our document. We also have a different set of font rules that are being applied. So it looks like we have some kind of Helvetica or Arial font now, instead of the classic Times New Roman that Microsoft uses by default. So this is just going to make our page look a tiny bit more modern and visually appealing. You also notice that links don't have that ugly underline natively until you hover over them. They're also a much friendlier blue. And there's a ton of other little tiny semantic things, but that's not really why we got the framework. That's just kind of a little cherry on top. So now if we jump back into Bootstrap documentation, we can actually start using the components and the different things that they have to start building our Lego creation of a website. So if I jump into components, they have a list of different things we can use. We're just going to jump into one. We're going to jump into navbars. So let's add, and it's got tons. What's great about this Bootstrap is that it has great documentation. So go to getbootstrap.com, read through the documentation. Don't wait for another Zero to Madness video to get some content into your website and to try this stuff out. Get out there, read the docs, get into the practice, because this is a staple in the field. You're going to constantly be dissecting other people's documentation and figuring out how things work, and then applying them in your project. And again, that gets you usually about 90% of the way, and that just means you have 10% of figuring out how you want to tweak it for your specific needs. So I'm going to see down here that like this nav bar right here looks pretty dang spiffy. So I'm going to actually copy this guy and paste it into my project. So I'm going to copy this whole block, and then jump back into my project. And then I want it at the very top of the page. So I'm going to put it right inside of my body tag. So here's a cool little pro tip. You'll note that they used 2 spaces, which yuck. And 2, it's kind of all out of whack. And so what we can do to fix that is VS Code has a really nice code format feature. So if we right click, we can click Format Document, and it will try its best to make the code that we've pasted in format with our 4 spaces. There's one spot where it messes up because they've put, for some reason, this guy on a new line. So we just need to kind of fix this spot manually and get it so that this button opening and closing ends at the same spot, but everything else looks awesome. So now you can see all of this green over here. That's kind of VS Code telling us where new code has been added. So we can kind of see this section here has just been added. It's looking awesome. So now let's save that and jump back over into our browser. And when we refresh, now we've got a navigation bar for application. And not only does it work and look awesome, but it's also got these sweet drop downs, and this is all JavaScript enabled. That's why we had to do the jQuery and the Bootstrap JavaScript file. And even more awesome is when you go into mobile mode. So I've inspected the element and I have my little mobile device viewer or device toolbar checked. And so what that's going to do is it shrinks it down to a mobile phone, iPhone 5 in this case. And we can see that when we get to a mobile device, it's automatically going to make us a sweet hamburger menu, and it's going to have all the stuff that we have on the desktop except tucked away under this little drawer for us. So at this point, I'm going to start dissecting this lump of code that I was given and just take the pieces that I need and change different things. So for instance, I can see from over here that they have this brand section. Like I don't need it to say brand at the top. I probably want it to say Popcorn 245's portfolio. So I can take my H1 down here. I'm going to take the text out of here. Bloop. And then I'm going to paste that over the top of the text that says brand. And now if I jump back into the browser and refresh, I can see that it says Popcorn 245's portfolio. Sweet. So there we go. There's that. Now I can see that underneath here, I'm going to go back to desktop mode. I'm going to see that these link items, these are the links to the other pages. So rather than have this ugly, barely visible view my profile link, I probably want to put that link up here. So I'm going to jump back over here and see if I can find where it says link. Link. Here it is. And I'm going to change this to say view projects. Awesome. And then I'm going to link this to projects.html. And actually I'm going to tab this out just to make it a tiny bit more viewable here. I don't need this span, so I don't know why that is there. Awesome. Now when I refresh, it says view projects. And when I click on it, it'll take me to my projects page. So as you'll notice, we don't have any of that stuff on our projects page. And if this is a navigation, it probably needs to be on all of our pages. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this entire navigation bar and the entire head, because I want all of the things that I don't have. See, this only has my style sheet. It's a little behind. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste this over the top of the entire thing. And now, just check my tags here, make sure I got a closing head, opening body, closing body, cool. Now, if I jump back over to the browser and I click on View Projects, I can see that now I have my cool looking projects page, and it's got my navigation bar on it. Maybe I want to put something on this page so that I can see. These are my projects. ... There we go. Awesome. So now we can see again that we have the same navigation bar at the very top, and it's actually linked up correctly. So it looks good. So now what I probably want to do is I want a link on our index page. I want a link on here actually that goes to the home page. So I'm going to change this to say home, and then this is going to link to index, which is our home page. And then our second link I'm going to change to projects. And though this drop down and stuff is really cool, it's really kind of overkill. I don't really need this right now, so I'm just going to remove this altogether. And again, and same thing with all this stuff. I'm going to remove all of this because again, it's just about using what you need. And in this case, I just need a very, very simple navigation. So now I'm going to head back to my index page. Back. And now I can see that I have two simple links, a home and a projects. When I click on projects, it gives us the old navigation because I haven't updated that yet. And you'll notice that the home link has this little gray background, and this is because this is the active link. So if we jump back over, we can see that the difference between the first link and the second link, the only difference is that the first link has a class of active. So in Bootstrap, when I add this class of active onto an LI element, especially in a nav bar, it's going to give it that gray background. So all we need to do to make that be on a different link is just add that class to another element. So again, this is where the classes come in. This is where a state has changed. We want this element to be active, and that's where classes shine. So I'm going to go to the projects page, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did on my index page. I'm going to remove all this extra content that I don't need at the moment, and going to remove this. Awesome. Simplify it, and then I'm going to link this to my home page. Index. I'm going to link this to projects. View projects. Oh, I have projects here. Let's be consistent, Bobby. Okay, so now if we go and we refresh over here, I can click back and forth between home and projects. Awesome, awesome. So, but now again, I need to go about changing this active link so that it actually appears that I'm clicking in between these pages. As of right now, it looks like I'm just stuck on the home page, but I can see from my URL that it is changing. So I need to go back here into my projects page. I need to move this LI class of active to the other LI for projects. And then we will see that once I do that, I refresh, I jump into projects, and now projects is highlighted. I jump into home, and home is highlighted, and back and forth. Awesome. So now I'm going to show you one more kind of intro Bootstrap kind of thing. And there's actually tons more stuff. We'll get into grid systems in the next video and stuff like that. But one of the other main ones that we're going to use are probably buttons. So everyone wants buttons in their website to go to different websites, to maybe go to another spot in your website, or maybe do some kind of functionality with JavaScript. So Bootstrap makes it really easy to make some cool buttons by just adding a couple classes. And so I guess first off, I'm going to get rid of this. Well, actually, let's style up this View My Projects button. I'm going to move it down below my image tag. Actually, I'm going to move it right between my H2 and my paragraph tags. So first off, let me make sure that that worked. Cool, so now we see my link is down here. Again, we want this a little bit more prominent, and this is where buttons come in. Also, well, text links aren't very mobile friendly. So we want a button to actually portray this link. So to do that, let's jump back into our documentation here. And if we go to the very top, we can get to the really basic stuff that Bootstrap does under CSS. And then we can see that over here on the right, it gives us a list of things that we can do with CSS. And again, take the time, read through this website. It is your friend. So I can go into buttons, and I can see that really easily, I just add a couple classes onto an A tag, and it will automatically generate a button just like this. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to add a class of BTN and a class of BTN default. So here's my A tag. Let's add this class on. Boom. And now my projects, View My Projects button is going to look a lot more like a button. And if I click it, it's going to be just like clicking on this link in the navigation. It's going to take me to my projects page. So I probably want something that looks a little bit better than a gray, blocky looking, ugly button, right? Well, luckily, this is where the Bootstrap theming comes in. So we scroll down a little bit further, we can see that button default makes the default button with no real stylings. It's really generic, the default kind of style. But we can add different classes like primary, success, info, warning, and danger to give these different colors. So I'm probably going to use success in this case just because I want a nice green button on my page. And there's other classes that we can add as well. We can add large buttons. We can make block level buttons, which just means they're going to stretch the entire screen. So I'm going to add a couple of those. I'm going to add the button. I'm going to add the button block, and I'm also going to add the button success. So very simply, I'm going to just change this from button default to button success, and then add a button dash block. And now we will see I get a nice screen width size view my projects button that really pops out on my page. So now I'm drawing a lot of focus to this. So I could also do button LG, I think it is, btn-lg, and that will make my button a little fatter, stick out even more. Look at that, big old button. And then they also have some really cool things we can do. If we scroll down a little bit further, we'll see that we can also, what do they not show us in here? Oh, I guess they don't show us in here. We can also add icons into our buttons, which is super helpful. Let's see if I can do that real quick. Go back into components. All right, you know what? I lied to you, and I'm not going to do it in this video. I'm so sorry. So there's the general concept. Again, read through the documentation. There's tons more stuff you can do. You can add, very simply add icons, add cards, add grids, add all these different things. And again, delve into the documentation. Don't wait for our next video. But this is the general concept. We're going to link in our references to our style sheets and our script tags and things like that in the head of our document. Then we're going to start pasting in some content from the documentation or writing some classes that they give us from the documentation onto our elements, and that will apply these styles and give us the JavaScript functionality that we need. And that way we can just focus on building out the pages and building out a lot of the actual content on our website, and focus less on designing buttons and things like that that are kind of commonplace in applications these days. So hopefully that was helpful and gives you a little start for using frameworks. Go try them out, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.